As I stand outside in our East Tennessee home, I want to tell you guys a story of my daughter Hazel. She has a rare genetic disorder in the family of NKH, but here's the thing. When I was pregnant, I had absolutely no idea. So I was pregnant. I was 30 years old at the time, and 40 weeks had come and go. Hazel decided that she was going to arrive late, and my husband and I were sitting in our bedroom one evening. We had a 500 square foot cabin that we lived in at the time. Literally the only door in the entire house went to the bathroom. It was basically a one-room house, and on this beautiful lake in Redmond, Washington. We were laying in bed watching a movie, and I remember thinking something's going to happen. So I stood up. You guys won't even believe it, but my water broke. My husband didn't even believe me either. He was like, "You peed your pants." And I was like, "No, I'm telling you, my water broke." He even got down to the carpet and smelled. Sure enough, it was not pee. It was my water breaking. I went and sat on the toilet because I didn't know what else to do. And we called my midwife. They decided that it was a good idea for me to come in because I was too nervous to labor at home. I planned to have a natural birth with Hazel. That was what my mom did. So that's what I thought all good moms should do. But what I didn't know was how hard it was going to be to labor with Hazel. So we got to the hospital, we got all checked in, and I literally went from 0 pain to 10 out of 10 pain in a matter of minutes. I labored so hard, you guys, so hard. I tried so hard to do it the natural way. In fact, we got to the hospital, I think at like 8 or 9 p.m., and it wasn't until the morning at like 6 or 7 where the midwives had to sit me down and tell me that if I couldn't get my pain under control, I was going to end up having a C-section. So I finally gave in, did the things that, quote, bad moms, not actually bad moms, but that's what I thought at the time, did. And I took the drugs because I knew that I did not want to have a C-section. So I finally got my pain under control. And a couple hours later, we got to meet our brand new baby girl. You guys, she was perfect, but she was also screaming. She was so freaking loud. The nurses kept looking at me and they're like, "You got to talk to her, get her to stop crying. Like, she knows your voice." And I didn't even know what to say. It was the weirdest moment in my whole life because I remember looking at her thinking, like, "You've been in my belly for all this time, but I don't even know that I know you." And she looked Asian, but you guys, I'm like totally white. So it was the weirdest thing. Anyways, so we met our beautiful baby girl, Hazel. She latched right away, like, quote, good babies do. And everything was right in our world. Her APGAR scores were perfect. She was perfect. We were perfect. We took her home from the hospital the next day, and my in-laws met us with dinner. It was a beautiful, I believe it was a steak salad. I remember it so specifically. My mother-in-law is an amazing cook, and I just remember being amazed by what she brought over. But here's the thing. As we got home around dinner time, Hazel stopped latching. I wasn't really that worried about it because I knew that all people have breastfeeding problems, and I figured we'd work it out in the morning. It'd be no big deal. She was a normal baby. Overnight, she started arching her back, tapping her foot, acting a little funny. I just figured maybe she has gas or she was a fussy baby. I looked in my book. Sure enough, it said, arching baby, must be gas. The next day, we got out of bed and we decided that it was time to go back to the hospital. You see, the day before, the only thing that was a little bit off was her bilirubin, which is a totally normal baby thing. They told us to come back the next day and get it checked. When we woke up, I had this rushed feeling that we needed to go sooner than later. We got Hazel into the daylight and she was pale, very pale. We knew at that moment something was wrong, but we still didn't really speculate that it was something more than like normal baby stuff. We got her to the hospital, and by this point, I was pretty worried because, for one, I knew those, quote, good moms, they breastfed. Well, Hazel hadn't latched since the night before, and I was starting to get a little worried. I wanted my milk supply to be right. I wanted everything to be right. And I just didn't know. I didn't know what was going on. At this point, I started crying. I Doctor came and looked at us and decided, yeah, Hazel needs to be checked in. She was pretty lethargic at this point. The only room they had was in postpartum. So they checked us in, and the NICU doctor came and took a little peek at us. Right as she looked at Hazel, Hazel stopped breathing. She grabbed her out of my arms, ran her down the hall. Just picture any ER movie that you've ever seen in your whole life. This was now our reality. I walked into a room as the nurses told me, come this way, because I was literally in shock. I did not know what to do. They rushed me into the room, and there were 6 to 8 people pounding away at my brand new baby. You guys, I literally went from the world's highest high, having my brand new firstborn baby, to my lowest low, thinking, oh my God, you're going to take her away from me. This was my entrance into parenthood. This was our introduction into meeting Hazel. The story goes on, and I'll tell you more of the story as we continue this brand new series. I'm excited for you to hear it, because what I want to share with you about this story is how God took our greatest pain, He took it, and He allowed us to still have joy. And He took it again, and He's allowing us to use it to inspire, to motivate, and to change people's lives. That's why I'm here to share you my story. This is only the introduction, so don't be worried. There will be more. And that's all I have for you today on today's episode. So make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me on Instagram, Julia, and I'll see you guys back here in a little bit.